Hello, Stampin' friends and paper pumpkin enthusiasts. My name's Elizabeth Price, and this is Seeing Ink Spots. Today, we're gonna upstyle your paper pumpkin kit, specifically the 10 Years of Growth kit from March. We are going to make a card folio. I would show you the card folio, but I don't have it with me as I sent it off to Stampin' Up, and they shared it in an Alternatives Facebook Live that they had the end of March. So besides the kit, you're gonna need a few supplies. You're going to need a Kraft Gift Box. These are currently being sold in the annual catalog for Stampin' Up. They are on the retiring list. They are still available until they sell out or the end of April. So you'll need one of those. If you don't have one, use some cardboard or the backing from DSP. You're also going to need some adhesive sheets. You just need one. A piece of window sheet, and we'll go over the measurements later. Some foam adhesive sheets, and so these are like dimensionals, but you know, so they're sticky on both sides, but they're a full sheet. A small piece of fresh Freesia, and 5 pieces of basic white cardstock. And we'll go over those measurements in just a few minutes as well. And a few blends. I have polished pink and fresh Freesia here. All right, so let's begin. Now, I am doing this from memory with a few notes that I have on hand. And so bear with me. It's been a few weeks. So what I want you to do with your Kraft Gift Box, rather than forming this into a box, we're gonna form it into basically a book cover. And what I wanna do is cut each of these corners off. And to do that, I'm going to take, I have a quilting ruler here, and there's a 45-degree angle right here. So I'm putting that 45-degree angle on the fold line right up here to where I can cut that corner off. And I'm gonna draw a pencil line right there. And I've already done that all the way around. For time's sake, you don't want to sit there and watch me do that. However, I see that I have a little fingerprint action happening. So I'm gonna get rid of those. That's kind of a caution when you have these acetate windows, is you can sometimes end up getting fingerprints on them. So, okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just lining up my long blade scissors on these pencil lines, and I'm cutting the corners right off. I guess you could say I like to cut corners, but I'm ching. I'm here every weeknight. Just kidding. Oh, goodness gracious. She's on a roll already. Okay, so we're removing these corners, and then these corners, obviously, these are trash. We're gonna toss that out. Okay. And now we're gonna flip this over and we're gonna fold all of these tabs inward. We're gonna fold them inward. I'm just kind of doing a rough fold right now. Then we'll burnish them with our bone folder. And we're gonna glue them down with both tear and tape. I guess I should have said that earlier, that you would need tear and tape. Here it is now, you need tear and tape. Or you could use Wonder Tape. Whichever one. I like the tear and tape because it does this. Just what it says, it tears, and it's tape. It's a double-sided strong tape. Great for when you're making like 3D projects. Okay, so you'll notice I'm putting it on the outer edge here, and then I'll be adding a bead of glue inside. I'm not gonna worry about these little ones. We'll just fold those in and glue them. They aren't gonna have as much wear and tear on them or as much pressure on them because they're just smaller. There's that one. Working ourselves around here. And here comes our last one. The next thing I like to do when using something like tear and tape, to make it easier to pull the covering off, I go in and I burnish that adhesive, okay? Burnish that adhesive right onto your tabs here. It just makes it easier to pull that cover off. Plus it gives you a better binding, okay? Then you can take your pick tool or a hobby blade and just pick these off. So I'll pick off one, and then I'm gonna come in here and add a little bit of glue. Just come on, glue. Well, it's a good thing I have a pen on hand. My glue, if I don't use it, like I haven't used it at all today, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if I don't use it after a few minutes, or like say an hour, hour and a half, it just clogs up and I have to give it a pokey. Have to unclog it. Okay, so now I'm using my bone folder to not only burnish those adhesives and get a good binding, I'm also at this time getting a nice crease in my, on that tab there. Okay, and we're gonna do this all the way around. We need, we need something, to fill our time. We're doing something, but it's like, what do we chat about? Well, I know this is a card folio, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It does hold, it depends on how fancy your cards are, but it'll hold anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe even 6 cards. And this particular folio I've designed to be kind of a Mother's Day gift. So, and that's coming up in just a little over a month's time. Okay, I'm gonna hold that down with that finger. I'm gonna try and, double work here. You like that? It's a good thing the left hand's not having to do too much. And I'm gonna bring oh, I forgot something very important. Before I glue this one down, there is a layer, a protective film layer on this. And you're gonna wanna take your pick tool or a hobby blade to pull that off, okay? So I learned that was there. I had no idea it was there. The first one of these that I made, it wasn't a folio, it was a memory album. And this kept popping up and I'm like, what's happening? And I could see something pulling away, and that's when I realized there was a little acetate cover on there. So be sure you pull that off. If you're actually keeping the window and you're not gonna be covering the back, I would keep it covered until the last, if you're making a box, until the very last minute. I would take that off so that you can avoid fingerprints and whatnot. So that's if you're making it a box and you want to see through that. You just, save yourself, because you know how much glue and stuff we get on our fingers and whatnot. Okay, so we'll burnish this one down as well. Looking good so far. Get that really on there nice and tight. 2 more to go, and that's not too bad. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to pull both of these off at the same time. Look at that. And we'll add a little glue in here, glue here, and glue on this last one. And there you have it, folks. We have our first step complete, just about. There's a few things, or I should say there are 2 things I want to do before we have this step fully complete. So let's just burnish this on so that it's nice and we've got a good bond going. Okay, even this guy right here, get this one going. The last thing I want to do, we've got to do 2, is we're going to remove these 2 glue tabs, these sticky tabs. And so the easiest way is just to kind of come in there. Whoa, hello, that was fun. Pop that off and then just kind of work this. We're just going to pull this back because I don't want this to show. We're going to line the inside of this, but I don't want it to peek through. Like if our lining's a little bit shy, size-wise, I don't want that to show. So I'm just using an adhesive remover to roll that really sticky tab back. Just trying to get all of that off. Okay. Get that gone. Just like that. Okay, excellent. Now it's gone. We'll do the same thing over here. And while I'm here though, I'm gonna, since it popped up, we'll give it a good burnish. Same drill. And if it's being kind of like tricky to get it off, I always say, tell it who's boss. Come on. You can make it happen. Okay, so now I'm gonna work it with my adhesive remover. My adhesive remover complete with dog bites out of it. Yep, definitely dogs in the house. Okay, great, that's gone. Perfect. So now we have our cover. This is like the whole main mechanism for our folio. Now we'll fold on these last two lines here, and I'm just going to give those a good burnish. And this other one. And there you have it. There's our folio, or the cover for our folio. So instead of a box, we've just turned all the box sides and tabs inward to create the cover. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go on to our next step. And I mentioned that you would need some pieces of basic white paper. And so what you're going to need, this piece is 5/8 of an inch wide by 5 3/4 tall. 5/8 by 5 3/4. This piece here is 1.5 by 4. 1.5 by 4. Okay, I was just double checking. This piece of basic white, 3.5 by 4.5. 3.5 by 4.5. And then the last two are the same size. They are 4 1/4 wide by 5 3/4 tall. Okay, so with each of these pieces, what you're going to do is, I'm going to set these aside. We'll do this one. I have mine done ahead of time, but grab yourself one of the adhesive sheets, one of the pieces from the pack, and open that up. And I'm just going to kind of fold some of this back, just like this, to expose the adhesive. So this is adhesive. And so you have a waxy side on this side and a waxy side on that side. We're going to peel these back. And then I'm going to place my piece of paper right on top. Okay, so take your paper, and I'm just going to set it in the corner there. And if I have to pull these back a little bit, I can. That's no problem. And now I'm just going to kind of put these on top so that I can really give this, I'm using my bone folder to get that adhesive nice and stuck to my piece of basic white paper. Now what I like to do is just take a pair of scissors and cut this out. Okay, I'm cutting outside of the line so I don't cut my paper. We'll use this, save it, use it for later. And we can remove these pieces here. These are trash. Okay, that was the cover. So now here's my basic white. I have adhesive on the back here that I can pull this and we'll decorate with. But before I do that, what I want to do is these edges that are hanging off. Here's my tip. Just take your adhesive remover and remove that adhesive. So one, you don't get it on your fingers. And when we go to trim this paper, which we're going to do in just a minute, we don't have exposed adhesive that's going to get into our trimmer or on the blade of our trimmer, if you know what I mean. So just remove your adhesive like that. This is perfect. It's not sticky any longer. The rest of the paper is, just not the edge, okay? So now grab the gold tissue from your kit. And so this is a small piece, but grab your tissue and cut yourself a piece big enough to cover your piece of paper there. And this is the fun step. Actually, this is like my favorite part of this whole project, is doing this step right here. I like the crinkling and adding it to my paper. So I've got my piece crinkled. Open it up. And you decide if you want to have matte gold or shiny gold. That's a no-brainer for me. I'll take the shiny. Now, your adhesive sheet, basic white piece of cardstock, we're going to pull that second wax paper off. Take your, let me turn this vertically. Take your tissue and plop that on top. And see if you have puckers like this? That's totally okay. That's character, and that's what makes it kind of fun. So there we have our adhesive sheet. Now I'm going to flip this over and use my trimmer to cut the edges off. So all of that adhesive that we removed earlier, it's not there, and I'm not going to be getting any of that into my my paper trimmer here. So I'm just kind of lining this up. Now, don't cut super fast. You want to cut slow. If you cut fast, the tissue will have a tendency to tear, okay? So now I can put that one right in there. Come down. And see how it kind of tore right there? So I'll just kind of pull that away. We'll trim this off. Okay. One last one to go. One side left. And I'm going to go slow. There it is. Awesome. Okay, so if it hangs over just a little bit, can you see that, how it's hanging over? Just give it a fold with your finger. It will totally be perfect, see? And so that's how pretty that is. So I would actually, and have done this on lots of different cards and things. So it's a fun use of that tissue, whether it's in the fancy gold or the pool party color that they often will wrap their kits in. So you're gonna need to do that to all of your basic white pieces, okay? So I have done that ahead of time. So cover all of your pieces. And let's set these aside for now. And I want to do just a little bit more work, a little more prep work. So we're going to prep our piece of fresh freesia here. And this piece of fresh freesia, let's see, my measurement here, it's 2.5. It's 2.5 by 4. It's a scrap. And so I'm putting a piece of scratch paper underneath. And I'm going to bring in my blends. And it really doesn't matter what order you go in. We're just going to create a fun piece of paper. I'm going to kind of create some stripes in here, some horizontal. I'm coloring horizontal, okay? So that was light fresh freesia. Now how about I go dark fresh freesia and just blend into that line and come over a little bit. And you can leave gaps, that's totally great. This is light polished pink. I am going to miss polished pink. It is being retired. Okay, come all the way to the edge. We're going to need the whole piece and blend over. Now I'm doing dark polished pink. And if you think it looks kind of funky now, it's okay. It's going to blend and look a little bit different by the time you're done. I'm going to do a little bit more of the dark freesia right in here by this dark polished pink. Those two colors blend well together. And then I'll go back to the light. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and blend a little bit more. Okay, looking good. So I think I'll do just a little bit more of the light polished pink to really blend that color right there. Come down in here. Okay, awesome. There it is. That's all we're going to do when it comes to coloring with our blends. We're done with the blends. Next, what I want to do is pull out Stylish Shapes dies. Now, you could do this next step with smaller hole punches, or not hole punches, but circle punches if you want. But I am going to pull out the second to smallest and the smallest die. Got a lot of dies in here, so we need that one. And then I want the biggest die, the biggest circle die. So we're going to need all 3 of these circles. Okay, so all 3 circles. So this circle measures about 3 inches in diameter. So if you don't have Stylish Shapes, you could use, maybe you have a different set of circle dies, or maybe you have an old ruled die, but find yourself about a 3-inch circle. And then this circle here measures across about 1 1/8. And this one measures across about 3/4 across. So they don't have to be exact, but just in the ballpark. So I am going to run this one. I'm gonna put it on the far edge, and it doesn't matter, just put it on the far edge over here and cut yourself 1 circle using your Stampin' Cut and Box machine, or maybe you're using your Big Shot. So I'm gonna do that right now. All right, whoops. turned my water on. I don't always stamp in my kitchen, but I do film and I do lives in my kitchen because that's where the light is better and definitely better for, you know, getting a good signal for your phone, for Facebook Lives and that sort of thing. And so the kitchen, all you have to do is touch the faucet and it turns on. And I touched it when I was using my Big Shot, my Stampin' Cut and Bust machine. Okay, so there's one circle, big time. She's like, stop talking. Now you're gonna cut out a couple more circles, but this time what I want you to do is grab your box. And from the bottom of the box, I cut myself a couple circles here, 3 circles to be exact. So I used the large die to cut this circle here. So this is cardboard. It's interesting, when it goes through, it really does get a little bit more flattened. So you need that. And then with the smallest circle die, you're going to cut yourself 2. So you can see I've done those 3 circles already. So I'm gonna just set those aside. We're gonna need those a little bit later. We're doing prep work right now. This, look how cool that looks. All right, fun technique. This we will use later. So we've got that ready. This is trash, that can go away. I'm gonna put my stylish shape dies away. And while I put these away, I am going to grab another set of dies here. I'm gonna grab Alphabet a la mode. Now you could use any letter dies you have, or maybe you're going to trace some letters and just free, you know, just cut them freehand, but you're gonna need the word mail. So M-A-I-L. And the F needs to go back on here. It doesn't like to stick. Okay, so those letters there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut those letters out from this piece of paper here. But before we do that, we're gonna take our foam adhesive sheets, and so you can see this is a sheet I've been using. But what I'm gonna do is the same thing we did on the adhesive sheets. You're gonna peel back one of the wax layers here and I'm gonna set my paper kind of like this, because I know I don't need it where the circle is. So I'm just kind of trying to save and not use it all, you know, put it all the way over there for stuff I'm not gonna use. That's kind of crazy. But so just cut out enough. So basically you're backing that piece of paper there. And since there's none there, I'm gonna just trim some of this away, just to be sure. It's kind of how I roll when I'm doing stuff like this. Now you're going to place your letters on here. M-A, and you decide if you want them to, like, this pattern to run across, or do you want to mix it up and maybe turn your letters upside down, or have some high, have some low. It doesn't matter. You decide. But just know that I have, and if you're doing this, you'll have created a pattern there, and you just want to make sure that that you know, you address it, whether whether it matters to you or not. So you're gonna put those on, and I actually, if it does matter to me, if they're, you know, like exactly the way I want. So I'll actually either use some washi tape or a Post-it note to hold those in place while they go through the Big Shot, and then I have some finished right there. You can see those. Okay, that way you didn't have to sit there and watch me do all of that die cutting. So these are prepped ahead. So I think that I now have the things that I need necessary for putting things together. So now let's assemble and have some fun here. The first thing we're going to do is, let's go back to all of these pieces here. We're going to take this one, and we'll be using that to, this is going to be a liner for the window. And you know what? We had one more bit of die cutting we were supposed to do. We'll get to it in just a minute. Okay, so for this liner, what I'm going to do is, I'm just gonna kind of set it side by side. I'm going to put some of the Pastel adhesive backed sequins in here, and we're gonna sandwich them in between the window and the paper here, the tissue paper design that we've done. And it's just kind of a fun element. It looks kind of like a faux shaker look. And so just kind of have some fun adding a bunch in the corners. And we'll come up here and see, and then I'm gonna hold it in the window and kind of check things out, see how it's looking. Oh, hello, come here. I'll do another one right in here. And let me just kind of hold this inside. And then, okay, that's looking good. I can actually go a little further. I can separate them just a little bit. So I'm gonna eke these back this way just a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is if I had left them too much in the middle, they'd have just gotten covered up and you wouldn't have seen them at all. So I'm gonna pull these back. That one's on too well. So I'll bring this one back a little bit. We'll bring this one back and we'll add just a couple more. Where do we want to go? Kind of right up in here. And then check it. How does it look? It's looking good. I feel like I could still move them out just a little bit more. So I'm gonna just, since I didn't push them down too tight, I can pull these back just a little bit because we don't want to put them in there and then them not show up at all, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's check this one last time. Okay, looking good. I think I might do just a few more right down in here. Okay. Hey, you got a bunch of them, right? Go big or go home. And we'll do one right up in here. Gonna tuck it up higher. Okay, now what we'll do is we're gonna open up we're done with the sequins for now. We'll open up our folio cover here. And so this is gonna set inside that window. And I'm just gonna kind of line it up how I like it. It doesn't matter if it's not straight, don't worry about it. And I'm gonna use my tear and tape again to hold this in place. Only this time when we use the tear and tape, we aren't going to peel the backing. We'll just leave it on. Because if we peel the backing, it's gonna get a little bit away from us when we go to put the next layer on. So just go on all four sides and glue that down. And the reason I'm not using, I said glue, right? I meant to say adhere. The reason we're not using glue is because of the acetate. You know, acetate and glue, that's just not gonna work. Okay, give it a good burnish. We want things to stay put. Okay, just kind of get in there, that one right there. Okay, that's good and burnished. Now, when we open that, or actually we close it so that we can see the front, sorry about that light. There you can see we've got the little sequins peeking through. Okay, now let's continue to build things. The original folio that I made, I used the window check, evergreen window pane. I'm not even sure what the name of this is. I guess I could look it up. Here it is. I used this, but you need about 34 to 36 inches, about a yard. And I don't have enough of that left. I only have about 28 inches. And that would only make this tiny little bow on the side. And it would, to me, be out of scale. So use enough ribbon. Just pick a ribbon that's gonna work. This is the soft, succulent ribbon that's retiring. So there's 16. I'm using my grid paper here. There's 32 plus another 2 inches. So there's about 34. So just give yourself a nice piece of ribbon. And it could really be any ribbon that you like mixed with this kit. So from there, I am going to fold my ribbon in half. And it doesn't have to be exact, but be kind of close. So there's my halfway mark. I'm just gonna kind of do a nice crease in there so I can tell. And I'm going to take some more tear and tape, and I'm going to turn this way so I can see center better. But I'm going to add a piece of tear and tape. Now I'm not starting all the way at the edge, but I am eyeballing center, and I'm going to stretch it across to the other side. Okay, so I've gone about to there. Just like that. We'll burnish that on, and we'll peel it off, and then add our ribbon. Okay, here's my halfway mark right there. So we know halfway is right about there. And then we'll just lay that ribbon down. Okay. Just like so. And then when we close this, our tails line up nicely. And that ribbon is sandwiched in there, and it's going to stay in place, because now what we're going to do is, with our remaining pieces here, this one's actually for the front, so we're going to just set that one aside. These pieces here, the 5/8 is going to go inside there. We have one here and one here. So we're going to do the right or the left side, and we'll do this middle piece here. We can do those first too. This one, we've got a little bit of work we're going to do to it first. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make sure that my edges are tidy here. I'm just kind of, the tissue paper, where it might not have cut totally straight, I'm just kind of smoothing it over with my finger. And we'll add a little glue to this. Now we can use glue. I guess you could continue to use tear and tape, but the thing with the glue is we know that that gives us a little repositionable. We can kind of wiggle things around. And we're just going to set that right in the center, just like so, okay? Now we can do this one, okay? We're not going to do this other side just yet because we need to put, we have a window sheet that's going to mount with this one over here. And that window sheet is going to be what's going to hold our cards in place. Okay, so you're going to set this one, and you are going to leave just a little bit of a gap there. And the reason for that gap is so that when this is closed, it doesn't buckle up. You need to have some room in there. Okay, so there's that. And we'll just give this a good burnish. Look how it kind of flattens out the crinkles in your paper, but I still think it looks totally cool. I like it smoothed out, and I like it kind of crispy too. Okay, so there's that. And I'll flatten this one because I won't be able to do it once I have the window sheet on it. Okay, so speaking of window sheet, let's prep that and get that ready to mount inside. So our window sheet, let me see, where did I put it? It's in my stack over here somewhere. Well, you're going to need your trimmer, and I think I buried it. Here it is, finally. So this window sheet is, and I'll give you the measurements here, it's 3.5 inches wide by 10 inches tall. So 3.5 by 10, okay? 3.5 by 10. I am going to open up the arm on my folder, or my trimmer here. And we're going to make some score lines. And score lines in window sheet is a little, you have to be a little bit assertive. And we're going to do some score lines along the long edge. And our first score line is going to be at 1.5. So 1.5. Okay, I'm giving it a good push. I even had my teeth gritted. I like clenched my teeth. Like that's going to make a difference, right? 2 1/8. 2 1/8 is our second score. Okay, our third score, we're going to move all the way over to 7 7/8. And then 8.5 will be our last one. Okay, there we are. They're a little tricky to see. You can kind of see them right there. So what I want you to do is take those score lines, and it takes a little bit of coaxing. They're there. It's not quite like when you put a nice crease into cardstock or DSP, but they're there, okay? And take your bone folder and burnish that crease in. There's our first crease. Let's go for the second one. Just gonna kind of hold that down. Okay, there's that second crease. And then it's just gonna kind of form that. Now we need to do the same thing on this end. So all of them fold inward. Come on. There's one, and now let's get this last one in there. Tell it who's boss. It kind of wants to really get away from me, but I'm forcing it to go where I want it to go. Okay, there it is. Okay, so there is, this is what's gonna hold our cards and envelopes, okay? So I would have on hand, I have little like alcohol swabs when I'm working with window sheets or acetate, because you can see there's a little bit of adhesive right there. So once I finish things, I'll go back in and use a little bit of that to clean that off, okay? Don't try and rub it with an adhesive remover. You will make it worse, okay? So before we put this into our folio, we're going to add this window sheet, okay? So it's going to, you're gonna center it. So let me put my fingers there. Hopefully you can see. You're gonna center it, and you're going to attach it to the back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna put tear and tape in 2 places. So I'm gonna do tear and tape. Well, I'm actually gonna put it in 4 places. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 strips here. These will totally be hidden. Okay, that's on, so you can see those 2 strips. So there are my 2 score lines, so it's all on this end of the score line. So we'll do 2 strips on this end of the score line. And this window sheet has some memory, so I'm fighting it, but again, it's a fight that I know I'm gonna win. Ha. That's why I say tell it who's boss. Okay, so burnish those strips of tear and tape on, and we'll pull that off with our take your pick tool or a hobby blade. I'm so excited. In the upcoming catalog, the take your pick tool will have a new, there will be a hobby blade accessory that you can add to it, and a couple others. So take your pick tool is getting some new ends. Okay, so I'm just setting that in place, centering that, okay? And we had to use tear and tape because it is, you know, that acetate sheet. Now let's do the same thing on this side. We'll pull these off. Okay, pulling these 2 off, and we'll set them in place. Just try and find center there. Okay, there you have it. And so now we're going to glue this in place. I've got it on a little wonky here. I'm gonna have to fix this. Okay. Okay, Newell's off to Portland to pick up a windshield. Okay, got a little bit of a mess there, but it's never gonna show. Don't worry about it. But because I had it too far on, it was warping and it wasn't gonna lay flat. So I had to pull it off. Okay, there we have it. Okay, So now we'll just kind of work it back and forth. Now we can glue this one into place on this side. Now here we go. We're gonna need a little bit more tear and tape on this side. So we'll just do some tear and I'm just gonna go all the way across or close to it. Okay, and then I'm gonna glue the rest because I like glue. If I can get by with green cap glue, that's my favorite adhesive. It just, I like the timing of it, that I have time to wiggle things around. You know, you have to kind of be exact with the tear and tape because where it lands is where it's gonna go, or you're gonna rip your paper like you kind of saw right there. Okay, there's that. Now we'll add some glue in here. The glue to hold things down. Okay, and all of our funny little tears, they're gonna totally go away. So we're just gonna line this one up, give yourself a little bit of a gap so that you can get in there and have it fold. So when things, you know, when you set everything inside, it will close, okay? Okay, so just for your information, the measurement for this piece here is the same measurement as the spine. So if you're making a different sized folio, that's what I did so that when this is shut, see how it kind of lays, it closes and it has a nice clean look to it. All right, speaking of closed, we're ready to decorate the front. Now that we have the construction done, it's fun now to get to decorating. So the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna reach for our circle, and the circle's gonna come in here, okay? That's gonna go right about there. But before we lay that down, I have a banner that I wanna cut on this last piece. Remember I said we forgot to cut this one? So it's the largest banner from Stylish Shapes. This one here. Okay, is that the one? No, sorry, that's not the one. I'm like, that's not the largest banner. This one. Thought, why would I cut such a big piece of paper? Okay, so let's run that through the Big Shot, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And we'll have that ready to go because it's going to be layered underneath the green circle. Okay, so there's that. Now, it's not quite long enough to layer behind the green circle, so take your scissors and just chop it in two. And now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put some dimensionals on here. So you've got dimensionals in your kit, right? Or I'm gonna use full-size dimensionals. The kit came with some minis, but I have some fulls on hand. And I'm gonna do a dimensional there. I know that seems very weird, but that is what I did. And a dimensional there, okay? And I'll peel the backing here. And I'm going to, let's see here. I'm gonna stick this out. Okay, so it's hanging out about 3/4 of an inch if you go to this edge. Now I'm gonna flip it over because it's easiest to kind of, for me to do this. And it's like I'm just gonna kind of draw across and try and mimic that. That way they're in line with each other. And then I'll take a look. And because this is going kind of diagonally, it's kind of throwing me a little bit. But you wanna make sure that you're not gonna be too far out. I'm gonna move this one in just a little bit, because it felt like it was just a little bit larger or longer hanging out that side. Okay, there's that. And now I'm gonna add that to this piece here, and I'm gonna add it with dimensionals, okay? So I'm just gonna add, I'm not gonna add dimensionals here. I'm only going to add dimensionals like right there. I'll do a couple here and here. So I'm adding like that. That way this will all sit flat on that acetate window. Okay, we are in the home stretch, folks. Okay, so now this, and you can center it. I actually have mine up just a little higher than center. Okay, so there's that. Looking good, looking fun and awesome. Now let's add one of the happies. So this happy is from the kit. Okay, so you've got that. And we're going to glue this onto the box bottom circle here that we cut. So, I mean, I kind of like stuff like this to be dimensionalized, but the word male that we die cut, that is dimensional. So we'll kind of go at it that way. Look at it that way, I guess. Okay. You don't want to do too much glue on this. I may have too much glue on mine, and then it's going to ooze out and get on the gold. So here's what I might recommend, is find a scrap paper if you feel like you've got too much glue, and just kind of paint it, some of it off, or just kind of, you know, paint it over to other areas so that it doesn't come oozing out. Because when you ruin foil, it's like, that's a pain because it's hard to clean. See, I've got too much glue right there. So hopefully I can mend that. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so this is gonna go towards the top of this circle. Right about like that, okay? So you just kind of have to look at it and know where you need to put that glue, because you don't need it on all of these ends, right? So I actually didn't have any glue over on this part of the H. So there's my happy. Now let's add the male. However, before we add the male, let's see, did I bring one? I can't believe I didn't bring Wink of Stella out here. But what I would do is paint these letters with Wink of Stella. And you could do it now, or you can do it once you put it on. But let's just peel these letters out, and we'll set them in place. Okay, and remember we put foam adhesive on the backs of these, so we have some dimension here. And I am not going to put these, I'm just kind of resting them, just gently laying them in place until I know exactly where they're going to go, okay? Because you kind of have to, you know, eyeball exactly where they're gonna land, and then maneuver them how you want, because I think I might do some high and some low. And then the I. This one's going to come down again. And then the L. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I want this L. I want most of it to fall onto the circle so that it doesn't kind of, you know, so I'm really kind of watching that one. And then I'll do the same thing with the M, get that in place where I want it. And then I can kind of maneuver the A and the I. I have a little bit of wiggle space with them, if you know what I mean. Okay, but I definitely want them vertical. I don't want them, you know, I don't want to warp the letters, if you know what I mean. Meaning I don't want them kind of like, so there's the A. And I think I have it pretty close. I don't like my M. See how it's a little bit warped? So just kind of pick it up. You have a little bit of time before it really kind of sets in place. Okay, that was a good maneuver, that lifting that up. Once you have it where you think you like it, happy mail, then you can kind of go ahead and give that a little bit of a, you know, I'm not overworking it. I'm just pressing a little bit in there to get that to hold down. Okay, now let's take a look at the last little bit of decor that's going to happen to the front of this. We're going to add some leaves from the kit. So I've pre-punched one of these pretty multicolored with the gold. And I've got a pool party and another pool party leaf. And then I did two of, well, I'll get these out of the hands here so you can see them. I did two of these. Okay, these are all going to be for the front. But I think what I'm going to do first is kind of divvy this one up. So I'm going to trim it in a few places so that I can use a little bit on top and on bottom. So I'm going to do a cut right there. So now it's a 3-piece, and it's going to kind of come in here somewhere. And I think what I did, so you guys, I'm doing this from memory. Okay, so I made this a month ago. Okay, so we're just going to cut these off like so. And let's clean that up just a little bit because we don't want that to show. So I'm just kind of trimming these apart so that I can use, so I wanted a little bit of this multicolor look in several places. And I think I actually even went like this, something like this, because I know I have a piece, had a piece down in here, and I'm going to trim this one off just a little bit. And I think I had another piece, so I kind of had those in there. And I think I had another one. So I kind of have something like, I kind of spread it out like that. We'll see once we start to add more pieces in here. But you can have some fun, you know, doing it however you'd like. But let me just kind of lift these. I think this one went in first. And I did go underneath. Tuck it underneath. Yep, just kind of like so. And then with this one here, I think I'm going to just trim this kind of like I did the other piece so that I could kind of, you know, spread it out a little bit and have just a little bit more to work with. Let me just trim this little hanging piece off. So it doesn't really matter exactly, just have some fun adding some leaves and things. So I did some leaves up one side and some leaves down the other. Okay, but I think I based them with the blue and then started adding the other colors in. So let's do that. Let me just kind of set these to the side. Let's glue these in for real. For real. Just a tiny bit of glue here and here. Okay, you don't need to glue all the leaves, just a few. And remember, that's going to go underneath everything. Kind of right there like that. We'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, sorry, my hand's been in the way the whole time. I usually look up at the camera to see what I've been doing, and I've been so focused, hyper-focused on what I've been doing down here. And I've got one little leaf there that's not supposed to be there. Okay, so this one, I'm actually gonna, instead of going under the gold, I'm gonna go on top of the gold. But, so I've got one coming around and hugging this top, and then one is kind of working around. And so we're just kind of echoing the circular shape. For these, what I believe I did, oh, that's nice. My Alexa just went off. Can you hear her? Oh, brother. I thought, who's in my house? She's talking, it's a total advertisement. Well, you guys, you think it's bad that the dogs bark? So I am adding dimensionals to these leaves. Do you have to add them to all of the leaves? On a card, no. But because this is going to be, this is more of a 3D, more semi-permanent, hopefully the person keeps it as a keepsake for a little while. These, I do want them to hold their shape a little bit more. So I am adding a dimensional to each of the leaves of those. Okay, these might be a little bit different. We'll see. We'll put those in last, okay? So I'm going to go with the biggest one, this 3. This was the top of the leaf, right? So this one, I'm going to work kind of right in there like so. Now, just set things down. Don't push those, don't push the dimensionals, like don't lock them into place just yet. Just so that you can you know, kind of maneuver things just a little bit, have a little bit of wiggle room time. Okay, so I think I'm going to reach this one down inside, kind of like that. Okay, so I like that. Let me pull this backing off. And is this exactly the same as I did my original one? Not necessarily, because I don't have it. I'm not exactly sure. And so see this funny little junction point right there? That's where this will come in handy to just kind of disguise that a little bit. And I think I'll come down just a little bit. And maybe what I'll do is actually even, I'm gonna use this dimensional that's on this leaf here. I gotta peel it apart. I'm gonna use that dimensional there to hold things in place. Okay, so, and then you have to decide, do I like that? No. No. Maybe, just maybe, it should go this way. Watch this. Okay, so I'm gonna lift that one just a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of do an under over, or both under. There we go. Okay, yes, I like that. But now I have something funny right there. So, we'll have to see how we're gonna fix that. I know how we'll fix it. So we have some of this leaf here. So I'm going to snip this apart. And this is just kind of like, you know, making real fresh arrangements when you need another flower or another leaf to complete the bouquet. So we're kind of, okay, there we go. That's nice. Now I just need my glue to make contact with something. Get in there. I'm so bossy. Come this way, just a little. Okay, good. So there you have it. And now let's finish this one down here. So maybe we'll add this one in first. Okay, just a little glue here and there. And we'll tuck it. Oh, it just got glue all over the place. Right in there. Pull some of that out. I'm going to curve it just a little bit more. And now we'll take these and kind of finish up this curve, give it a little bit more, make it a little bit more elongated. So what I'm trying to do here is just kind of work this underneath. There we go. Okay, I like that. And now maybe a little bit right up in there. Okay, and this one seems a little high to me. It needs to curve around, but you get the idea. My original curves around a little bit more. I'm looking at a picture of what I did originally. So let's see if we can't get this to angle a little bit better. But you know, that's part of the process. You can't do everything exactly the same, right? We don't want to do everything exactly the same. But it is fun to kind of look at things. I think what I'm going to do is a little bit of switching it up just a little bit. So a little bit of glue, and I'm going to come, oops, right in there. Oh, look, right where I got glue, I covered it up with a leaf. Right there. Nice. Coming around. And then I'll take this piece here and maybe, you know, tuck a little bit of that blue purple right in there. So first let me clean this up. And I do this a lot on our die cuts, as I'll separate the leaves just to get my own custom little sprays and whatnot. Okay. And that one can just be a little tuck of purple right in there. Okay, so there you have the front. Here's the inside. Now, this side here, I'm not going to design the cards in this video. I did have 3 cards and 3 envelopes on this side. And what you do is you set them inside here like so, okay? By the time they get decorated, that does fill that out, but I do believe there is room for more in there, for sure. Now, this side here, what I did is I included a little pocket. So let's make that pocket real fast. And for that pocket, you're gonna need one of the envelopes from the kit and your trimmer. And we're gonna fold this shut. We're not gonna glue it, we're just gonna fold it shut. And I'm gonna cut 1 inch off of each side. So there's 1 inch on that side. And now let's cut 1 inch off of this side. Just like so. And now what I want to do is I'm gonna open up the envelope and I'm going to, well, I'm gonna actually fold one. I am going to place my edge at 1/2 inch and you're gonna score. Okay, so score it at 1/2 inch and flip it over so that you have a straight edge and score this side at 1/2 inch. All right, so now what we're gonna do is trim some of this away. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim away this side right here. So let me fold the envelope one more time. So we're gonna take this piece away and this right here. In fact, let me just draw with a pencil so that you can see, and then we'll do it together. How's that? So we want to remove this section right here, okay? We want to keep this tab here. So what we're gonna do, let's just kind of, I'll start it by hand and then I'll finish it with the trimmer. So with a pair of scissors, I'm going to make a tab here. So I'm just gonna kind of cut that in on an angle, and we'll do the same thing on this other side here. We'll cut this in on an angle, right to that score line, and then we're gonna remove all of this, okay? So that's where I'm gonna bring in my trimmer here. And let's see, how did I do this before? Because I want a straight edge. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna worry about having a straight edge to go up into this here. I'm just gonna place everything right in the groove. So place that score line in the groove and you're gonna stop right there. And now that all comes away. Let's do the same thing on this side. So put that whole thing in this score line right in the groove, right in the cutting scoring line. And we're gonna start here and go all the way down. Okay, whoops, I jiggled. All the way down. Okay, there it is. So now what I can do is I can fold these tabs back. And now I have a smaller envelope that will sit on this inside cover here. And so this inside cover, to me, this is perfect for postage stamps or, you know, because you could put a few postage stamps in there and then the recipient is all ready to give out, you know, to mail out some cards. So let's just glue these tabs inward. Okay. And then we'll glue it. Got a lot of glue there. Hold on, Baba Louie. Kind of paint that. Spread it around. Okay. Okay. And now this, I can put glue on this. And it's going to just sit right where I showed you. Okay. Let me shut that flap so I can see better to get a good center on this. And there it is. Like I say, this is a pocket for postage stamps, or maybe you want to hide a hidden message, or it is sized. You could put a gift card in there, but let's do a fun closure on there. And so the closure for this is going to be, remember these that we cut out? Okay, so we have some closures here like so. These are going to go on. So I'm going to put this one here, I'm going to glue. And I'm only going to glue like the top half. Okay, Put a little glue there. And it's gonna go, and I kind of got a little bit off on my halfway, but you're gonna put that on your flap there. So it's gonna go center. I was just making sure none of my glue showed. Guess it would have been smarter to put the glue on the envelope. So there's that. And now each of these are gonna go on with a dimensional. Okay, so one dimensional here. So these are the two small circles that we cut at the very beginning from the box bottom. I'm just gonna give those a mash so that they're stuck. And I'll put one on here. Just center that right on that circle. I really like how this paper that we, the fresh Freesia paper that we used the Stampin' blends on, how it just it's a very subtle look, but I think it's really cool. And it definitely picks up this look right here. Okay, so now we're gonna just kind of work this like you would a clasp envelope, right? And so you could use any twine. You could use white, or this is Starry Sky from the In Color Baker's twine. And just wrap some of that around. I might have a little bit too much here. Let me loosen some of that. And just tie a bow. And that's just kind of a fun addition to the inside. On my original, I actually had a little pot. So this card right here, I had cut one up and used up all of the books for something, but I cut this little plant right here, and it's actually glued right there. So if I have an extra card, I will do that. I don't know yet, because I haven't used up this kit just yet, so we'll see. But anyways, this is how this closes shut. But it's kind of a fun little added bit of decor for the inside to help visually balance all of the weight of the cards on the right. Okay. There you have that. Kind of even that up just a little bit. Let me hold my ends, and I'll even these as well. Cute, 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 cute. And the last thing I want to do, I did mention, I said have an alcohol swab. Now, you don't have to have an alcohol swab. You could just have a cotton ball and a little bit of rubbing alcohol on hand. But that's going to come in here, and it's going to be the last thing you do is get rid of your little bits of adhesive, which I have here, and fingerprints. Okay? And you just have to let it air dry. It only takes just a couple seconds, but you just want to make sure it is Get Gone adhesive. You like that? Get Gone. Okay. It's just tricky to kind of, I've got a spot right there that I'm trying to get. Okay. And because it is rubbing alcohol, it will dry. Another spot right there. Okay. We're going to call it art for now. I can clean it up later, right? Oh, I got it. Okay. So just kind of, that will dry pretty quick. It's still not quite dry, but load your pretty cards in there. And then go ahead and take your ties from the edge here that we sandwiched in there and just give this a good bow. And this tie here holds them in place, okay? Because that window sheet is top, bottom, and then this is side. And just kind of, get your bow looking the way you want it to look. Make it fun and festive and cute and pretty. And then if you need to trim some, you can. But I kind of like a larger bow on mine. But there you have it. That is how I made the card folio that was shared earlier at the end of March. For that month. And I still need to do a little work right in here. So I'm going to play with that. But now you know how I made it. Hopefully you might be interested in making one for yourself. Have a fun time. Oh, and I think I will make one more video on how I made the cards. It won't take very long because they're pretty simple cards. But I'll do some alternative cards. We'll upstyle a few more cards for this kit. Look for that video in the next few days. Thanks. Bye-bye.